Never ceases to amaze me the rules customers invent. Him. Why did my rate go up? Me. Because you had a speeding ticket. Him. No, I didn't. I've never had a ticket or anything. Me. Okay, I see you had a speeding ticket in October of last year. Him. Oh, that? I was only. It continually surprises me the creative ways customers come up with to justify their situations. Him. I just got my latest bill and my rate increased. Me. The reason for the rate hike is a speeding ticket on your record. Him. That's not possible. I've never received a ticket, nor have I ever broken a traffic law. Me. I'm looking at your account, and it shows a speeding ticket from last October. Him. Oh, that one. I thought that wouldn't count since I was only speeding by 11 miles per hour. It's unfortunate that the conversation dragged on for an additional 20 minutes. My so's into choking and I don't want to accidentally murder her. She loves the feeling of almost passing out and has told me that she doesn't want to tell me when she's blacking out cause it'll ruin the moment. This concerns me, because I don't want to end up having to die. My partner has a fascination with breath play, and I'm anxious about accidentally causing her harm. She enjoys the sensation of being on the verge of losing consciousness and has confided in me that she wouldn't want me to notice if she were to lose her breath, as it would spoil the experience. This worries me, as I don't want to be faced with an unthinkable situation. At the same time, I'm hesitant to give up breath play entirely, as it's an integral part of our intimate moments and I wouldn't want her to feel any less pleasure or connection. Assuming the worst case scenario occurs and she loses consciousness, what steps should I take? They hear about other people's troubled children and think, no, you must be the problem. My coworker was complaining to me about his friends who are great, loving, supportive parents, but their unruly teenager chose to live on the streets because she has sketchy friends. When people share their tales of difficult children, it's easy to jump to conclusions and assume that the problem lies elsewhere. A coworker of mine recently confided in me about the struggles he's witnessing with a friend's family. Despite being kind and loving parents, their teenage daughter has made some questionable decisions. She's chosen to live on the streets, supposedly due to her involvement with a sketchy crowd. My initial reaction was to challenge this notion, saying, I'm not convinced that your friends are as perfect as you seem to think they are. It's unlikely that a child from a stable home would choose to leave behind the comforts of their family simply due to a few friends with questionable motives. Is it a crime for someone to purposefully throw away an election ballot? I'm in Washington state in the US and we are a mail-in ballot state. Our grandfather threw away our ballots claiming they never arrived while he turned his in a couple weeks ago. I'm wondering if this is mail-in ballot disposal, a potential violation of election laws in Washington state, which is a mail-in ballot state in the US. I'm concerned about a situation involving my grandfather. He claimed that my family's ballots never arrived, despite receiving his own ballot a couple of weeks earlier. My question revolves around whether throwing away election ballots, especially when one's own ballot has been received, could be considered a crime. While it's true that Washington state allows voters to request a replacement ballot if they don't receive their initial one, this situation appears different. In this case, my grandfather had already received his own ballot, which suggests that the ballots were indeed delivered to our household. If he had access to and discarded our ballots, knowing that his own ballot had arrived safely, it raises concerns about election interference and potential voter suppression. Is this behavior specifically prohibited by Washington state laws? Or, given the availability of replacement ballots, is it considered a non-criminal act? And that's how you lose babysitting privileges. We recently went out to breakfast with the in-laws. Now this is my step Mill who came into the picture. My husband was 7, so never really raised babies. She's holding my 3-month-old son, telling him quietly, if your mom wasn't her. The breakfast blunder during our recent breakfast outing with my in-laws, a potentially volatile situation unfolded. My stepmother-in-law, who entered my husband's life when he was 7, and thus lacked extensive hands-on experience with infants, found herself holding our 3-month-old son. In a soft but unmistakable tone, she whispered to him, if your mom wasn't here, I'd give you some whipped cream to try. I recognized the seriousness in her voice, recalling past disagreements we'd had regarding her care of our older son with other matters. A 20-year-old has been messaging my daughter. I've made a throwaway for obvious reasons. A creep has been messaging my daughter who is male 20 and my daughter is a minor. I will not be saying the age of her. He wants pictures of her and he wants to send pictures of him. She's try. A persistent individual has been attempting to contact my daughter online through messaging. In order to address the situation discreetly, I created a temporary account for my own protection. This individual, who is 20 years old, has been sending my daughter unwanted messages. He is asking for her to send pictures of herself and also offers to send pictures of him in return. My daughter has attempted to block him, but he has responded with threats to harm himself, which has left us both concerned for his well-being. Unfortunately, we are faced with the challenge of how to handle this situation effectively. If we were to disclose his contact information, there is uncertainty surrounding its legality and potential consequences. TLDR, a 20-year-old is harassing my daughter online and threatening to harm himself if blocked. My husband, 33, is cheating on me with a teenager, 19. He found her on Tinder. I don't know why young girls are attracted to old men. I just can't. I'm in the denial stage and I can't believe this is happening to me. Good thing is we don't have any children involved. The devastating truth I've been forced to confront is that my spouse, a 33-year-old man, has been unfaithful to me with a minor, a 19-year-old girl. Our relationship took a dark turn when he encountered her on a popular dating app, and I'm still grappling to understand the motivations behind their involvement. It's disheartening to acknowledge that young women seem drawn to older men, but this situation is particularly disturbing. As I struggle to come to terms with the reality, I find myself stuck in the denial phase. It's difficult for me to accept that someone I've trusted has been secretly engaging in an affair with a much younger person. A silver lining is that we don't have any children involved, which could have made this situation even more complicated. What's even more painful is knowing that my partner has been secretly bringing this young woman into our home when I'm not around, and they've been intimate on our marital bed. The thought is unbearable, and I'm still trying to process the gravity of this situation. Daughters of narcissistic mothers, what's the most profound thing that helped you on your healing journey? Please share your best tip on healing. I have a huge mother wound and I'm wanting to heal this. I have been doing a lot of inner work, but I need easy to follow actions. Breaking free from the shadows of a narcissistic mother, finding solace in healing as the offspring of a narcissistic mother, navigating the labyrinth of emotional healing can be an arduous and isolating experience. However, it's often within these dark corners that we discover the most profound catalysts for transformation. For many of us, the key to healing lies not in the external world, but rather in the intricate dance between our inner selves and the legacy of our upbringing. We invite you to share your personal anecdotes of healing, as well as the most impactful strategies that have helped you shatter the shackles of your mother wound. What specific tools or practices have you found to be instrumental in your journey towards healing and self-discovery? We seek to hear about your experiences, both the triumphs and the struggles, in the hopes of forging a supportive community that can learn from one another's triumphs. What was the most pivotal moment or epiphany that shifted your perspective on healing? How did you integrate this newfound awareness into your daily life, and what tangible effects did it have on your overall well-being? TLDR, share your personal story of healing from a narcissistic mother wound. Discuss the most impactful tools or practices that have aided you. For anyone who has narcissistic parents, does it feel like your parents barely know you? Do your parents know anything about your passions? The things you like? Your favorite foods? Your life goals? How you're actually feeling, or any of those things? I feel like they do. For individuals with narcissistic parents, a common sentiment is that their parents seem disconnected from their daily lives. It's as if their parents are oblivious to the smallest details, such as their personal interests, favorite hobbies, or even their favorite foods. The question persists: do their parents truly understand their goals, values, or emotional state? It feels like their parents only care about their own desires and expectations. They seem to be more invested in getting what they want, rather than genuinely connecting with their child. This leaves many feeling unheard, unseen, and unappreciated. If you have grown up with narcissistic parents, you are likely no stranger to this sense of disconnection. The longing for a deeper understanding and connection with your parents is a universal feeling among those who have experienced similar situations. Does anyone else feel this way? I'm gay and I don't give a fuck who knows it. That's right, I'm a dude who likes dudes and I don't care who knows it. Fuck the people who stare at me and my oh when we hold hands. Fuck the ones who go silent when my sexuality is mentioned, because y'all don't mean. My identity is unapologetically mine, and I'm proud to claim it. I'm unashamedly myself, a man who loves men, and I won't let anyone else's opinions dictate my authenticity. I'll hold hands with my partner, and I won't be intimidated by those who can't help but stare. The ones who suddenly become silent when my identity is mentioned don't deserve my attention. My partner is incredible, and I'm not afraid to express my love for them. Being gay is just a part of who I am, and if you're so consumed by it, perhaps it's time for you to focus on your own life. I've gotten tired of people coming up to me and saying, "Your abuser has said they've never abused you." Doesn't anyone understand public face versus private face? Most abusers are able to put on a charming air to those around them. It's what makes stupid little girls like me the perpetual struggle of facing the doubt of others. It's disheartening when people approach me and claim that my abuser has never hurt me. It's as if they fail to grasp the concept of two distinct personas, the public mask and the private reality. Most abusers possess a remarkable ability to present themselves as charismatic to those around them. This facade makes it all too easy for vulnerable individuals, like myself, to be deceived by their charm. The shame and guilt that come with being a victim of abuse only serve to exacerbate the issue. Today, I'm choosing to take a stand and move forward with pressing charges. I'm not concerned about potential losses in my social circle. Rather, I'm focusing on holding those responsible accountable for their actions. In doing so, I'm hoping to create space for genuine relationships to flourish, ones that are built on trust and understanding rather than blind loyalty. Is it legal for a church to fire someone because they're pregnant out of wedlock? My mom works at our church's childcare center. A female staff member became pregnant and is not married. The daycare fired her because of it. Is this legal? In the daycare's employee handbook, Can a church legally terminate an unmarried pregnant staff member? A woman became pregnant out of wedlock and was employed at a local church's childcare center, where my mother works. The church subsequently fired her due to her unmarried status. This raises questions about whether such actions are lawful. A closer examination of the church's employee policies reveals that they reserve the right to terminate staff members if their behavior does not align with the church's values. It is worth noting that federal and state laws prohibit employment discrimination based on pregnancy. However, these laws also allow employers to establish policies and procedures that are in line with their values and mission. This can sometimes lead to conflicts and challenges in implementing anti-discrimination laws. In this case, if the church's decision to fire the unmarried pregnant staff member was motivated by a desire to uphold its values, it may be deemed lawful. However, if the decision was based on discriminatory or biased reasons, it could be challenged under anti-discrimination laws. TLDR: church's decision to fire an unmarried pregnant staff member may be lawful if it was motivated by a desire to uphold its values. However, if the decision was discriminatory or biased, it could be challenged under anti-discrimination laws. Update: some states have more protective parents pressuring me to sign house under my name to my sister as a gift, but property taxes are currently owed. Parents are pressuring me to sign our house to my little sister's name because I am getting married and they're paranoid my fiancé is plotting to take the house. Concerns over joint property ownership in Texas: my parents are becoming increasingly insistent that I transfer the title of our family home to my younger sister's name, ostensibly as a gift. Their motivation stems from their concerns that my soon-to-be husband might have ulterior motives for wanting to become part of our family's property holdings. Despite their pressing, I'm hesitant to sign the deed over to my sister, given that our household is currently burdened with outstanding property taxes. In researching this matter, I've come across information suggesting that if I were to gift the property, I would still be liable for any gift tax that may be applicable, as well as the outstanding property taxes currently owed. I'm seeking clarification on whether this is always the case in Texas. Is there any scenario under which I might be able to transfer the property without being held responsible for the gift tax or the outstanding property taxes? Edit. It's worth noting that this issue may have broader implications for the family's financial situation, particularly if my parents are relying on the assumption that their children will assume responsibility for outstanding debts. Update. For the sake of accuracy, it's essential to consult a qualified attorney or tax professional to determine the specific requirements and potential consequences of gifting property with outstanding debts in Texas. I got accepted. I'm 23. Had tried and failed since graduating to get into school or even figure out what I wanted. I had pretty much given up on myself and thought I would get nowhere in life. But yesterday I got accepted into university. I am so proud of myself, and I'm a new chapter at 23. I had hit a roadblock, struggling to find direction after graduation. Every attempt to get into school or figure out my future ended in disappointment. Feeling lost and defeated, I had almost given up on myself, believing my life would stagnate. But yesterday, I received life-changing news. I was accepted into university. Overwhelmed with pride and a sense of accomplishment, I felt an overwhelming urge to share the news with the world. For the first time, I felt a sense of hope for my future. I'm the first person in my family to take this monumental step, and it's a feeling unlike any other. I'm beaming with pride and gratitude, knowing that I've broken through a barrier that seemed insurmountable. Edit. I'm grateful for the outpouring of encouragement and advice from everyone. Thank you for believing in me and pushing me to keep going. Your support means the world. I won tickets to see Andrea Bocelli. Nobody I know seems to like him or care. This is a bucket list event for me, and the seats are in a suite. I am over the moon, and there is nobody to share my excitement with. So there. Edit. Well, this kind of blew up. Thanks for all of that. I managed to snag tickets to see Andrea Bocelli, and it's a moment I've been eagerly anticipating for a long time. Unfortunately, none of my acquaintances seem to share my enthusiasm for the event or his music. This is a long-held dream of mine to see him live, and the fact that I've been given the opportunity to attend in a luxurious suite setting has left me beaming with joy. The only issue is that I'm unable to share this excitement with anyone. Update. I'm surprised and touched by the outpouring of offers from friends to join me on this occasion. It turns out that my wife is actually coming with me, and while she may not be a fan of his genre of music, she's thrilled that I'll be fulfilling a lifelong dream of seeing him live. Her support means a lot to me, especially since she's been understanding of my past suggestions of traveling far distances to see him perform. My burger is too hot. NMOM. My mother once had me return her McDonald's burger in exchange for a new one because it was too hot. The guy at the counter said, "Can't you just wait and let it cool off?" I already knew this wasn't going to be an option, so I asked if he could pee. My mother requested that I bring her McDonald's burger back to the counter because it was excessively warm. The staff member we encountered politely suggested that we simply let it cool down before consuming it, but my mother knew that wouldn't be feasible. I politely asked if it would be possible for them to prepare a new burger, which they agreed to do. The staff member then set the old burger aside and assured us that a replacement would be ready shortly. After a brief waiting period of around a minute, the staff member called out our name and handed me the same burger they had initially set aside. My mother was pleased with the outcome, and the issue was resolved to her satisfaction. When I was a poor kid, I used to scam people for money when I was in 5th, 6th grade. Me and my best friend were really poor and from shitty home lives. We would go door to door collecting for charities and even had a teacher print out some fake information for us once. We were. Growing up in difficult circumstances took a toll on me when I was younger. My friend and I, both around 11 years old, struggled to make ends meet due to our troubled home life. We often went from door to door, pretending to collect donations for various charities. It was a desperate attempt to get by, and in our desperation, we even fabricated documents with the help of a sympathetic teacher. At the time, we were just trying to survive and make the most of a difficult situation. Sometimes, the small change we received was spent on cigarettes, which would help alleviate our hunger for a longer period than a meal. In hindsight, I realize the harm our actions may have caused, as those who gave us money genuinely believed they were supporting a good cause. It's a painful memory to reflect on now. I'm proposing to my GF tonight. Today is my GF's and mine 10-year anniversary, and I plan on proposing tonight on the marina in our city, as this is where we first met. I just want to say how fucking terrified I am. I know what I want to say, but I am a nervous person and I just can't. A night of nervous anticipation lies ahead as my partner and I mark a decade of love and companionship. I've been planning a special moment to commemorate this milestone. Tonight, we'll be returning to the marina where our journey together first began, and I've chosen this serene setting as the perfect backdrop for a life-changing question. To be honest, I'm experiencing a mix of emotions, and my nerves are getting the better of me. Despite knowing exactly what I want to say, my anxiety is making me question the outcome. I've always been a bit of a worrier, and I'm deeply invested in making this evening unforgettable. While I'm not expecting a negative response, I'm determined to get every detail just right and make this a night to cherish forever. Edit. The moment of truth has arrived, and the answer is a resounding yes. I'm grateful for the kindness and support shown by our community. Edit 2. The generosity and warmth of strangers online has been truly heartwarming, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to share this special moment with all of you. AITA? Girlfriend asked me to give her friend my AirPods case. My girlfriend's friend who I don't know lost her AirPods case, and my GF is like, oh, I know you have two at your house you don't use, you should give her one. I found the two and I plan to sell them on eBay or something. Am I the asshole? My girlfriend asked me to hand over my spare AirPods case to her acquaintance. My girlfriend's friend had misplaced her AirPods case, and my girlfriend suggested I give her one of mine since I have a spare. I had two at home, but I was planning to sell them online for a profit. When I offered to give her friend one for $20, a significant discount from its original value of $79, they thought I was being stingy and should simply give it away for free. I didn't want to lose money on the deal. Edit. I don't know the girlfriend's friend's financial situation, so I don't know if $20 is still too expensive for her. However, I'm still not comfortable giving her the case for free. Update. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. If she had bought the case from me at full price, she would have paid $79. If she really can't afford $20, she could have asked her friend for help or borrowed money from someone. I'm not trying to be mean, but I also don't want to be taken advantage of. TLDR. I offered my girlfriend's friend a discounted price for my spare AirPods. I am losing faith in people. My coworkers told my NMOM that I transferred to a new location, and they told her exactly where. I don't know who exactly told her, but she somehow found out and showed up to my work. If I can't fucking get away from these abusers, how am I supposed? It's becoming increasingly difficult for me to trust others. My coworkers have compromised my personal boundaries by sharing my relocation details with my mother, and they even disclosed the exact location. The fact that they revealed this information is disheartening, and I'm struggling to cope with the consequences. Although my coworkers might not have been aware of my reasons for relocating, it's disconcerting that they didn't exercise more caution and tact. Instead of revealing my whereabouts, they could have chosen to maintain confidentiality by politely declining to share the information or by informing me of their intentions first. As I try to rebuild my life in a new location, I find it challenging to escape the grasp of these individuals who seem to be actively working against me. Their actions have made it difficult for me to envision a future free from the stress and anxiety they've caused. The fact that they disregarded my trust and invaded my private life has left me wondering how I can maintain peace in my daily life, especially when faced with people who seem to have no qualms about disrespecting my boundaries. TLDR, co-workers shared relocation details with the author's mother, compromising their personal boundaries and causing stress in their life. AITA for having bigger boobs? So a couple months ago a colleague of mine recently had a boob job, from nearly nothing to a DD, so quite a big difference. Ever since she has been making a big deal out of them and going on about all of her new, big boob, problems. At lunch yesterday, was I out of line for comparing my own experience? Recently, a coworker underwent a significant breast augmentation, transforming from nearly flat to a DD cup. Since then, she has frequently discussed her newfound, big boob, issues at the office. During lunch yesterday, in response to one of these lengthy rants, I gently reminded her that most people adjust to the changes in their bodies over time. I shared my own experience of having slightly larger breasts than hers, offering a reassurance based on my own understanding. However, our conversation abruptly ended after my comment, and I was told that I had body shamed her. I'm now questioning whether my intentions were misplaced and whether I unintentionally made her feel uncomfortable or self-conscious about her new body. Was I out of line for simply sharing my own experience in an attempt to offer support? Husband lied about girls camping. I've been married for years. This weekend my husband went on a guys camping trip. At least that goes for what he told me. He said it was just the dudes. I just found out that 2 of the guys' wives and 2 single women in their friend grow. Deception on a family weekend. I've been married for several years, and my recent experience has left me feeling betrayed. My husband claimed he was attending a guys camping trip, but it appears this was merely a ruse to justify his absence from home. He assured me it was just a gathering of men, but it seems that was far from the truth. I've since discovered that not only were there women present, but 2 wives from the group and 2 single women as well. What's more, it appears the trip was actually a no kids event, prompting my husband to mislead me about its nature. He stated it was a guys-only trip in order to keep me at home with the children. Upon learning the truth, I confronted my husband and expressed my anger and disappointment. I wish he had been honest with me from the start, as this deceit has caused me significant distress. I need to pay for these. Everyone does. That's how queues work. So I was in Greg's, a well-known UK business, getting food and a drink. Some old lady starts calling, "Excuse me," again and again. Someone asks her what's wrong. She say, "I need to pay for these." The rule applies to everyone. You have to pay for your purchases at the end of the transaction. I found myself at Greg's, a popular UK establishment, ordering some food and a drink. An elderly woman repeatedly shouted out, "Excuse me," before someone finally asked her what was wrong. She explained, "I need to pay for these," and proceeded to walk straight to the front of the queue. It was a confusing moment. I mean, isn't it standard practice for customers to pay for their items? It's just basic queuing etiquette. I wished I had spoken up, but I didn't. I was left wondering why no one else intervened either. The staff didn't seem to take any action, but perhaps that was the right decision, given the potential for the situation to escalate. Some people couldn't help but comment on the absurdity of the situation. Edit TLDR update: Mill trying to take babies for alone time. Why? Can someone explain this to me? My Mill wanted to take my not even 2-week-old baby for a stroller alone. Why? I truly do not understand why she would want to take the baby away from my for a stroller where she can't even interact. The mystery behind my mother-in-law's desire for solo time with my newborn. My mother-in-law has been expressing interest in taking our barely 2-week-old baby out for a stroll alone, and I'm utterly perplexed by her intentions. It's as if she'd rather have the baby away from me, even if it means she can't engage with it during the outing, rather than visiting our home to hold and interact with it. This behavior has resonated with others who have shared similar concerns about being alone with the baby. But what drives this desire in older women like my mother-in-law? TLDR: my mother-in-law wants to take our newborn for a solo stroll, leaving me baffled by her motivations. What's up, pussycat? I was working on project in the garage and asked my husband if he could bring my phone out to garage so I could listen to music. I didn't want to go in-house because I had paint all over me. He was nice enough to bring my phone out, but as payment, garage giggle. I was deep in the zone working on a project in the garage when I requested my husband to bring my phone out, so I could jam to some tunes. Given my paint-splattered state, I didn't feel like tracking down a way to get into the house. My husband obliged, but then he made a sly move. He started playing What's New Pussycat, expecting me to be annoyed by it. But, unbeknownst to him, I possess a remarkable ability to tune things out. He thought he was getting under my skin, but little did he know, I was immune to the music. I let the song play for an astonishing 30 minutes, completely absorbed in my work. Eventually, my husband reached his breaking point and stormed out into the garage. "I can't take it anymore," he exclaimed, snatched my phone, and turned it off. It looks like I outsmarted him this time. Freedom fries. I lived in the deep south and worked at a restaurant. Post 911, I got a bunch of people who refused to say French fries, like the menu said, and instead demanded freedom fries. Every time, I would bring them an order of American fries, which were on our menu. Fries of patriotism. Growing up in the heart of the southern United States, I worked at a local eatery where I encountered a peculiar phenomenon in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. Patrons would deliberately misinterpret the menus, French fries, and demand freedom fries instead, as if it was a clever substitute. Each time, I'd take them up on their request, only to serve them a plate of our American-style fries, a type of potato dish also listed on the menu, characterized by thicker, chunkier cuts. However, the customers would become increasingly agitated, only to be placated when I finally relented and brought them the standard French fries. While this exchange may have cost me in terms of tips, it was a source of amusement for me. Their desire to label the fries as freedom fries was so apparent, yet I chose to play dumb, and eventually, I'd bring them their French fries. I hit a parked car a month ago and I can't stop thinking about it. So I hit a parked car a month ago, but I panicked and just left the parking lot without leaving a note. It was a small scratch when I looked at my car. I know how irresponsible I am for this, and I felt really badass. A lingering incident from the past continues to weigh heavily on my mind. Approximately 4 weeks ago, I collided with a parked vehicle under unforeseen circumstances. Although the damage was relatively minor, I succumbed to anxiety and hastily departed the scene without taking the necessary steps to rectify the situation. It was a minor scratch on my vehicle, but I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt and regret. To rectify the situation, I returned to the parking lot that evening in the hopes of making amends, only to find the other vehicle had been relocated. The uncertainty and worry that ensued have left me questioning my actions and the potential consequences. Currently, I'm out of state and the situation remains unresolved. I'm torn between deciding whether to report the incident to my insurance or the authorities, but I'm unsure of the best course of action under these circumstances. And if I do receive a call or some other form of communication regarding the incident, I'm left wondering how I would proceed given my current location. Edit: I'm going to assume that I'm going to get a call or a knock at my door from the owner of the car that I hit. I've been thinking about what I would say and do in that situation. The truth is that I don't bank cashback limit thwarted. About 20 years ago I banked at my local co-op, but apparently they had a cash out limit of $1,000 per day. I wanted about $1,500 in cash to purchase a car I had found, a '68 Cadillac Sedan DeVille, and was told that I could not be accommodated. Overcoming a banking hurdle. Approximately 2 decades ago, I was a member of a local credit union, where a daily cash withdrawal limit of $1,000 was enforced. At that time, I had set my sights on purchasing a 1968 Cadillac Sedan DeVille and needed $1,500 in cash. Unfortunately, my request was initially denied due to the imposed limit. However, I managed to recall that my bank offered cashier's checks at no extra cost, so I placed an order for $1,500 worth. Once I received the checks, I signed and cashed them, which took around a half hour. Although the people behind me in line grew impatient, I eventually secured the car and enjoyed the thrill of owning my prized '68 Cadillac Sedan DeVille. Edit: this story has been rewritten to preserve the original meaning while using different wording. Update: no updates have been made to this story. TLDR: a person overcomes a banking limit by using cashier's checks to buy a 1968 Cadillac Sedan DeVille. Mandatory lunch? Our company changed the policy to require that we have a 30 minutes unpaid lunch. It was optional before. My department requires that 2 people be on duty at all times, and we often only have 2 scheduled per shift. We ended up sending the labor laws showing that new work requirements raise compensation concerns. Our workplace recently modified its policies, mandating a 30-minute unpaid meal break for employees, whereas previously it was optional. My department, however, necessitates the presence of at least 2 staff members on duty at all times. As a result of this revised policy, it became apparent that our team was inadvertently working during the previously unpaid lunch period. We then presented relevant labor laws to the HR department, highlighting the requirement that meal breaks must indeed be unpaid. In response, they created an option to designate our deducted meal break as interrupted, thereby allowing us to receive compensation for this time. Consequently, due to the policy change, the company is now providing an additional 2.5 hours of overtime pay per week to all 16 members of my department, even though their work hours remain unchanged. TLDR company policy change led to an unexpected overtime pay for employees due to designation of previously unpaid lunch as interrupted. Did you grow up convinced you were weird or strange? Did your parents ever tell you or reinforce the idea that you were somehow weird or different from everyone else to make you feel more isolated while growing up? Where even normal everyday habits, mistakes, hobbies, choices A common thread in many lives is the lingering notion that one is peculiar or out of place. Did you cultivate the notion of being unusual as a child, only to have it reinforced by those around you? Were everyday actions, minor blunders, and even cherished interests scrutinized and ridiculed, fostering a deep-seated sense of being an oddity? As I've matured, I've come to a startling realization: I'm far more ordinary than I thought. The weight of this perception has only grown clearer with time, and I recall the countless years I spent convinced of my own awkwardness and social ineptness. This distorted self-image left me crippled by anxiety when interacting with others and pursuing friendships. Have you, too, navigated a similar journey of self-discovery? Anti-vaxxers are fucking insufferable. Holy shit, what is wrong with these people? I just had an argument on here with some dude that literally wouldn't even look at the links to a lecture and video I sent him with proof that the vaccine isn't some ooga booga scary medical pee. The vaccination skeptic's delusion. It's absolutely baffling to think about the mindset of these individuals who refuse to accept reality. I recently had a heated exchange with someone who refused to even glance at credible sources I provided to debunk the misconceptions surrounding vaccines. He claimed I was imposing my beliefs on him, which is laughable considering the overwhelming evidence. The situation is indeed alarming, and it seems like some people live in a parallel universe. They appear to be unaware of the real-world implications of their actions and decisions. His outlandish comment about the government forcefully administering vaccines is a stark reminder of the depths of their misinformed worldview. We are indeed facing a challenging time, and it's disheartening to see people being driven by misconceptions and a lack of critical thinking. Do you ever get tired of every conversation being hijacked by your parent? It's tremendously exhausting. Send one text, get 10 back about all of their problems. Tell them you're sick, they tell you they have been sicker for longer. You have insomnia? No, they have insomnia. The constant disruption of conversations by one's parent is a draining experience. Each message sent is met with a barrage of their concerns, leaving little room for a meaningful exchange. Mention illness and suddenly their own struggles take center stage, making it seem as if their problems are always more significant than yours. In an attempt to discuss a personal issue, such as sleep difficulties, the focus instantly shifts to their own insomnia, with no genuine interest shown in your well-being. Conversations often become one-sided, with no regard for the original topic or any personal details shared. Even when you initiate a discussion, it's not uncommon for the conversation to be hijacked without warning, leaving you feeling drained and depleted. Honestly, it's taken its toll. Controllers scared of wage theft. I work in an operations center that is manned 24/7 Hurricanes, ice storms, chemical releases were staffed. Out of nowhere the controller is afraid that we are skimming hours since we don't clock in, we just put 12 hours on our time card. Wage theft fears erupt among senior management. Working in a 24/7 operations center that remains fully staffed despite extreme weather conditions and other emergency situations, our team's dedication and work ethic have never been in question. However, the comptroller's sudden concern that we might be misrepresenting our hours has caused unease. Since we do not clock in, we simply enter our 12-hour shifts on the time card. To minimize any potential disruptions, we take the initiative to arrive 15 minutes prior to our shifts to get familiar with the situation and prepare for our responsibilities. Once we are relieved, we linger to ensure a seamless transition and that everything is functioning as expected. As a result of my unique 4-day workweek schedule, I now receive an additional hour of overtime pay that I previously volunteered without compensation. The report is wrong. This is third party, so I'll cut to the chase. User calls to report a problem with, well, the report. Programmer goes up, has the user demonstrate. User shows the printed report to the programmer, taps the keys and shows that previously printed report. Misinterpretation of the report. This situation involves a third-party scenario, so I'll get straight to the point. The user contacted to report an issue with the current report. The programmer went to assist, asking the user to demonstrate the issue. The user showed the printed report to the programmer, then pointed to the screen where changes had been made and indicated that the printed report had not changed. The programmer let out a frustrated sigh and explained that once a report is printed, its contents cannot be altered, regardless of any modifications made on the screen. To rectify the situation, the programmer generated a new report from the updated screen and guided the user on how to discard the outdated report and retrieve the new one from the printer. Edit. In this scenario, the programmer's challenge lies in conveying to the user the fundamental difference between on-screen changes and printed output. Update. It's essential for programmers to remember that users, especially those unfamiliar with computer systems, often have trouble grasping these fundamental concepts. By patiently explaining the situation and taking the time to guide the user through the resolution, the programmer can help ensure a smoother experience for both parties involved. TLDR. A user reports an issue with a printed report that hasn't updated despite on-screen changes. I killed my father. My father was autistic, to say the least. We are Asians that do not accept mental conditions. My mother manipulated me at a young age to hate my father. I destroyed my father's ego and confidence. Demasculated him in every way. His family shunned him. He has been a burden of regret. My father struggled with autism, and as an Asian family, we didn't quite understand or accept mental health conditions. My mother subtly influenced my perception of him, sowing seeds of disdain in my young mind. Over time, I deliberately eroded his self-esteem and confidence, stripping him of his dignity and self-worth. His family disowned him, and he was relegated to a nursing home 6 years ago. Although I've made a few visits, I've never been able to form a genuine connection with him. Yesterday's visit was particularly poignant. My father was battered and bruised, suffering from a concussion, yet his physical body seemed to be in surprisingly good health. However, his mind was a hollow shell, shattered by years of neglect and loneliness. I desperately yearned for a miracle that would bring him back to me, allowing me to express my heartfelt apologies and seek forgiveness for the pain I've inflicted upon him. Today I managed to do one thing I always dreamed of. Today I went to a supermarket, and I bought some things simply cause I wanted to eat them, not cause I needed them. Some blueberries, some yogurt, some cookies. And I didn't even bother to look at the price. I just took them. Yay! A milestone has finally been reached in my life. This morning, I found myself at a local grocery store, where I made a spontaneous purchase of several items. The reasons behind these purchases were purely driven by personal desire, rather than necessity. Some fresh blueberries, yogurt, and cookies. What's more, I didn't even take the time to examine the prices, I simply chose them. Going back in time, I recall sharing my deepest aspiration with my mother. At the core of it, I longed for a life where financial stability would allow me to freely browse the aisles of a supermarket, selecting whatever I wanted without being held back by the burden of cost. I had envisioned that moment as the key to true happiness. And today, I'm starting to believe that I've finally achieved it. AITA for upgrading my ticket, knowing that my sister expected me to help take care of her kids on the flight. My sister and I live in the same city, but our parents moved to another country for retirement. They flew us out for their anniversary. Our parents buy all of us tickets. Was I the asshole for upgrading my ticket after my sister asked me to care for her kids on the flight? My sister and I reside in the same city, but our parents live abroad after they retired. They invited us to celebrate their anniversary, and they paid for our tickets on the same flight. My sister has 2 young children, a 6-month-old and a 5-year-old. Her separation from her husband meant she would be solely responsible for their care on a long, 10-hour flight. Or so I thought. Before the trip, my sister called me and asked if I'd be willing to help her with the kids during the flight, proposing a system of alternating shifts to allow both of us to rest. I expressed my reservations about this arrangement, but she implied that I would be willing to compromise for the sake of our nephew, ending the conversation abruptly. I was understandably frustrated by this unexpected request. I decided to upgrade to business class, which would provide me with a more comfortable and restful experience. The upgrade cost me $50 out of pocket, while my frequent flyer miles covered the rest. Upon arriving at the airport, I checked in and waited for my sister to arrive. When I informed her about the upgrade, her reaction was less than enthusiastic. She AITA for telling my kid's stepmother she doesn't get to make rules for my home in front of my former ILs. I share 2 sons, 11M and 7M, with my ex. He left me for his wife 3 years ago. They got married right after the divorce. I mention this because there are some tensions. Am I the asshole for standing up to my ex's wife in front of his family? I have 2 young sons, ages 11 and 7, with my ex-husband who left me for his current wife 3 years ago. The dynamics between our families are a bit complicated, but I'll try to summarize. My ex-husband's wife is a devout person who believes that children should be involved in sports and church activities. This stance often clashes with my parenting style, as my sons have expressed no interest in these activities. When their father signed them up for football and church programs, I agreed to let them participate with the understanding that they wouldn't have to continue them in my care. However, his wife seemed to think that I was obligated to enforce these extracurriculars, even on my parenting time. This issue came to a head a week ago, during a family celebration. His wife attempted to strong-arm my sons into attending church and signing up for football activities, which fell on my designated parenting time. I was not having it. When we stepped outside with his family, I politely but firmly told her that she had no authority to dictate rules in my home and that she should not speak to my children in such a manner. My ex AITA I did not wait for my wife to get dressed. I, 26M, and my wife, 22F, have been married for a year. She usually takes an extremely long time to get dressed, and sometimes if she's not happy with the look she'll ask me to wait and wear another dress and do the makeup again. Am I the asshole for leaving my wife behind? My wife, 22, and I, 26, have been married for a year now. It's a recurring issue that she takes an excessively long time getting ready, often requiring me to wait and sometimes even changing outfits and redoing her makeup. This has led to us frequently being late for events. Yesterday, I had a prior engagement at my best friend's home for his wedding anniversary. I made sure she was aware of our schedule and even booked a salon appointment for her. However, despite the reminder, we were running behind, and my friend and his wife were delaying the celebration to accommodate our arrival. I reached my boiling point and told my wife to figure out her own way to the event, as I was leaving without her. When she asked me to wait, I declined and left. She never showed up and called me later, explaining she didn't want to attend on her own due to concerns about being the center of attention because of our tardiness. I told her it was her decision, but she needs to be more punctual if she wants to accompany me to social events. This led to her becoming upset and hanging up. Edit TLDR: I told my wife to find her TIFU by wearing a custom wedding dress. I've been married almost a year, and while the marriage is spectacular, and the wedding was 96% perfect, there was one significant issue that I can't vent about to anyone in my real life. So I'll share here. My nipples. When I first, my big wedding mishap. When a custom wedding dress becomes a nipple-revealing nightmare. I've been married for almost a year now, and while our union has been nothing short of magical, there's one embarrassing incident I can't help but cringe about whenever I think back on it. It's a tale of a custom wedding gown, a dear friend's mom's good intentions, and my own naivety. As soon as I got engaged, I confided in a friend about my desire to try out a unique wedding dress style, one with a daringly deep V-neck. Having recently undergone a breast reduction, I was eager to showcase a different silhouette. My friend, thrilled for me, suggested her mom, an accomplished seamstress, could create the gown as a wedding gift. I was over the moon with excitement. A year before the big day, we took my measurements, and 3 months prior to the wedding, I visited her mom for a fitting. While the dress was still in its infancy, I remained optimistic, knowing she was doing this out of the goodness of her heart. However, upon my final visit just 1 week before the wedding, I was taken aback by the dress's lack of progress. I voiced my concerns about AITA for coming off as pregnant at my sister's wedding. I'm a newly sober alcoholic. I am a woman in my late 20s, and I very recently started to realize I've got a binge drinking problem. I've very recently started going to a therapist, and she is also referring me to a Am I the asshole for coming across as pregnant at my sister's wedding? I've recently been grappling with a binge drinking issue and have just started attending therapy. My husband has been my only confidant, as I'm still at the beginning of this journey. Last weekend, my older sister got married. Although we aren't extremely close, I wasn't upset or offended that I wasn't part of the bridal party. The wedding featured an open bar with champagne available at every table, and most guests were drinking freely. During the celebration, I opted for a glass of water, which made me stand out. A few family members, including my brother, uncle, and aunt, offered me drinks, but I politely declined, attributing it to personal reasons. However, as the speeches and toasts began, my aunt asked me why I wasn't drinking, and I replied with a vague statement about it being a personal decision. Her inquiring gaze left me feeling uneasy, and my anxious mind began to speculate about potential interpretations, including the possibility of being pregnant or having a drinking problem. It didn't occur to me that I might have inadvertently sparked pregnancy rumors due to my sobriety. Instead, I was fixated on the notion of being perceived as having AITA for telling my cousin the truth about her Native American heritage. This has caused some major drama in my dad's side of the family, and I'm seriously wondering if I am the asshole here. My 18F grandfather was a full-blooded Sioux Native American. He had 2 sons, my D. Am I the asshole for exposing my cousin's misconceptions about our family's heritage? I'm grappling with guilt and questioning my actions after sharing some hard truths with my cousin, which has led to a family fallout. On my father's side, I have a rich Native American heritage. My great-grandfather was a full-blooded Sioux Native American. He had 2 sons, my dad and his brother. Their daughter, Kay, is 17 years old. We're all descended from him, except me. I'm much lighter-skinned due to my mother's European ancestry. My dad is half Native American, and I'm a quarter, but Kay isn't because of family secrets surrounding her father that she was never told about. Growing up, our family would often visit my great-grandfather's extended family. Kay would become upset and throw tantrums whenever I accompanied the family, even though our dad and uncle encouraged us to be part of our tribe's community. Kay would frequently insult me, calling me an ugly white girl. Our dad and uncle would usually dismiss her behavior, and I had to put up with it. The situation escalated 2 weeks ago when Kay confronted us, refusing to visit the family if I was also present. She claimed AITA for exposing my sister's relationship secrets at her birthday after she tried to slut-shame me. So my sister takes huge pride in being a virgin, which is of course amazing for her. We were not raised in a religious family and our parents don't give a shit, so this is. My family's dynamics took an interesting turn after my pregnancy, and now I'm wondering if I overreacted by exposing my sister's relationship secrets at her birthday party. Growing up, my sister prided herself on being a virgin, and despite our non-judgmental upbringing, this decision was entirely her own. However, I made the mistake of sharing my own sex life with her, and she used this information to shame me after I got pregnant. This led to me cutting her off, but she eventually apologized and we became cordial again. Fast forward to the present, my sister is in a long-term relationship with her high school boyfriend, who's now 21. She often boasts about their commitment to waiting until marriage and the importance of trust and love in their relationship. But, I recently discovered a shocking truth. A coworker from my pregnancy days reached out to me after seeing her boyfriend's profile on Tinder. The profile had a fake name and a blurry mirror picture, but it was clearly him. He messaged my coworker, saying that his girlfriend knew about the Tinder account and that it was just for hooking up. Luckily, my coworker had taken screenshots. When I finally decided to confront my sister, I waited until my son's friend's parents want to adopt him. All names have been changed to protect everyone involved. I, 24F, am a single mom to my son, Owen, 8. It's been just us since day one. His father isn't in the picture and has been able to avoid child support for years now. Yes, as a single mother of 8-year-old Owen, I've had to navigate life's challenges on my own. His father is out of the picture, and I've worked tirelessly to provide for him despite the financial struggles. We've learned to appreciate what we have, and Owen has grown up with the understanding that money isn't everything. What we lack in material possessions, we make up for in our strong bond and the love we share. Our neighborhood school isn't ideal, so I enrolled Owen in a different school across town, which is closer to my job. Last year, he met Charlie, and they quickly became inseparable. Charlie's parents, Nate and Paige, seemed like wonderful people, and Owen had a great time at their house. When I couldn't find care for Owen during spring break, Paige kindly offered to take him in for the week. Her generosity was overwhelming, and I felt grateful for the experience she provided for Owen. As the school year progressed, Owen continued to spend time at Charlie's house, even going on vacation with them. I was initially hesitant, but Nate and Paige assured me that Owen was in good hands. They told me how much they loved having him around and how great a kid he was. At one point, I pressed Paige AITA for being jealous of my pregnant coworker. So I'm 31F, a teacher at a private school, and my coworker, 21F, is an assistant working toward her teaching degree. We get along great even though we're in different places in our lives. I'm married and happy to live more. Am I the a-hole for feeling resentful towards my pregnant coworker? As a 31-year-old married teacher at a private school, I have a coworker, Kayla, who is 21 and working towards her teaching degree. We get along well despite being at different stages in our lives. Kayla loves to socialize and be around her friends, while I prefer a more low-key lifestyle. My husband and I have been trying to conceive for several years, and I'm due in September with our first child. When I found out I was pregnant, I waited until 12 weeks to share the news because of past miscarriages. Kayla became pregnant at the same time and announced it at 5 weeks, before even seeing a doctor or having an ultrasound. I was happy for her, and it seemed cute that we were pregnant together. However, she talks a lot more about her pregnancy than I do, which makes some of our coworkers think I'm being secretive or even snotty about my own pregnancy. Kayla posts regular updates about her pregnancy on social media, including pictures of her nursery, and our coworkers give her gifts and compliments. Meanwhile, I'm more private about my pregnancy and don't share much about my experiences. AITA for going out with friends for the weekend after my wife locked me out of the bedroom and gave me the silent treatment. Every once in a while I do something to piss off my wife. Rather than communicate with me about what her issue is, she will ignore me for a few days. Am I the asshole for ditching my wife over the weekend after she gave me the cold shoulder and locked me out of the bedroom? I've grown accustomed to my wife's pattern of behavior. When I inadvertently do something to annoy her, she'll opt for the silent treatment, rather than addressing the issue directly. The silent treatment can last anywhere from a few days to a week, depending on the severity of her frustration. Occasionally, she'll lock me out of our bedroom, leaving me to fend for myself. Once the tension dissipates, she'll downplay the situation and absolve me of any wrongdoing. Recently, I had a similar experience. My wife became upset when one of her coffee mugs broke. Instead of investigating the cause of the damage, she assumed I was responsible and gave me the silent treatment. It turned out that a friend's child was the culprit behind the shattered mug. Feeling fed up with this pattern, I decided to take matters into my own hands. When my wife locked me out of the bedroom last Thursday, I chose not to engage with her. I ignored her texts and calls, opting to spend the weekend with friends at a resort instead. The weekend was a welcome respite. I played golf, enjoyed fresh air and beer. I caught my husband having sex with his mistress in the car with our baby in the backseat. My husband and I have been married for almost 10 years. We have 3 kids, 5 years, 3 years, and 9 months. Around 2.5 years ago, I discovered he was having an affair that had been going on. The unbearable betrayal. A mother's worst nightmare. My partner and I have been together for nearly a decade, sharing 3 young children, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-month-old. Our union has been marred by infidelity in the past, a revelation that shook me to my core 2.5 years ago. After 6 months of deception, we separated for a period, during which I sought therapy to cope with the emotional turmoil. Through therapy and marriage counseling, we eventually reunited, with my partner promising to work on rebuilding our relationship. The initial phase was challenging, with setbacks and arguments, but I believed we were making progress. I had read the self-help books and was following the recommended steps to mend our relationship. However, my perception of our partnership shifted dramatically when I noticed a change in his behavior. He became excessively attentive and accommodating, doing things he never used to do, such as grocery shopping and taking the children to new parks. His new work schedule also meant he was no longer home as early as before. While I tried not to be overly suspicious, the inconsistency between his words and actions was driving me crazy. I decided to follow him one day when he took our 8-month AITA for not following my husband's new religious beliefs. I, 28F, and my husband, 29M, met in college and have been married for 6 years. My husband was raised in a strict evangelical household but broke away from those beliefs around the time we met. We had what I thought was, am I the asshole for not accommodating my husband's new religious views? My husband and I have been married for 6 years. We met in college, and I thought our marriage was a happy one. However, my husband's life took a drastic turn after his father's passing in early 2021. He had been close to his father, even though he didn't share the same strict evangelical upbringing. To honor his father's memory, my husband decided to rejoin his church, but unfortunately, it's a community that shuns many things I enjoy and considers them sinful. My husband has now labeled himself as an addict, claiming that occasional social drinking, weed use, and even his own porn consumption are vices he must overcome. He's also insisted that I'm an addict because I don't want to give up these activities. I tried to meet him halfway by agreeing to abstain from drinking at home, but I want to maintain the freedom to enjoy a drink when I'm out with friends. My husband is now enforcing strict rules, even going so far as to dispose of my vibrator, deeming it an instrument of the devil. The latest development is that the church's pastor has declared video games to be sinful. My husband is convinced that I'm addicted AITA for telling my neighbor that I'm a whore, so I, 18F, just got home from college and my parents introduced me to our new neighbor, around 60F. She moved in a few months ago and had gotten along with my parents pretty well from what I had heard. The day I met her I was W. Was I the asshole for telling my neighbor that I'm a sex worker? As I returned home from college, my parents introduced me to our new neighbor, a woman in her early 60s. She had been living in the house for a few months and seemed to have a good relationship with my parents, or so I'd been told. The first time I met her, I was wearing a tank top and a pair of shorts. After the introductions, she scrutinized me from head to toe and made a comment that left me taken aback. "Sweetie, you shouldn't dress like that. It gives boys the wrong idea." I asked her what she meant, and she bluntly stated, "You'll give the impression that you're a sex worker." My parents attempted to downplay the comment, but I wasn't having it. I shot back, "Good thing I am one, then." She looked taken aback by my response. My neighbor tried to tell me that I shouldn't joke about such things, but I made it clear that I wasn't joking. I even went so far as to claim that I had numerous sexual partners, which wasn't true. I now realize I may have taken it too far. She remained silent, and I tifu when my wife found my Crayolas. "This fuck up didn't happen today, but I'm paying for it right now." My wife, or maybe ex-wife, usually works during the day while I work nights and weekends, so we don't really meet in terms of having time for the hanky-pankies. She runs The Great Crayon Debacle. It's a story from the past that I'm paying the price for right now. My wife, who runs a daycare in our building, usually works during the day while I'm on night and weekend shifts. We don't get much quality time together. Our basement is filled with brand new toys for the daycare business, and I often find myself bored out of my mind. One day, while rummaging through the boxes, I stumbled upon hundreds of crayons. I started thinking about melting them into unique shapes, and my DIY skills kicked in. After multiple attempts, I finally crafted the perfect crayon sculpture. I experimented with different colors and sizes, eventually creating about